At this time, we're going to resume the meeting of October 7th, 2013. Will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure will. Thank you. I'll take your hat off, please. Thank you.
I pledge it.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Valdivia.
Here.
Mayor Velasquez.
Here.
Councilmember Scatini.
Here.
Councilmember Gomez.
Here.
Interim City Manager Westrick. I'm sorry, you just got a promotion. Vera.
Present.
And Interim City Attorney Mall.
Present.
Chief of Police Westrick.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Verification of agenda posting.
The agenda for the City Council meeting of October 7th, 2013 was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on October 3rd at 3:46 p.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2.
Thank you very much. City Attorney, do you have anything to report out from closed session?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. The City Council went into closed session at 6 o'clock and concluded at 6:30. The matters agendas were discussed. The first matter was conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, and direction was given to legal counsel. And then the second matter was a public employee personnel evaluation, and that personnel evaluation was given.
Thank you very much. Let's move forward with the Employee Service Awards for the third quarter.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Tonight I want to recognize a employee at the City of Hollister Police Department who's been here for 15 years. Born and raised in Hollister. When he came here to this agency, he already had his degree. Worked at UNET, was promoted to sergeant. In fact, he was my first sergeant when I came here. We've worked together since '03, so we've been together about 10 years. And he's a vital part of our team. We all know him. And it's my pleasure to present Carlos Reynoso tonight with his 15-year pin.
I'll just say a few words. 15 years goes by really quick when you're working with really great people at the police department at the City of Hollister. So, dare I say another 15? Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you very much, Carlos.
I'll do Dave real quick since he's here, since he's close. Good evening, Mayor. Since I've had the pleasure of working with Dave for 15 weeks, no. One of the things I will say with Chief Westrick is he is one of the most dependable people that I have come across in the city of Hollister. I don't think it matters what time you call him. He will generally answer his phone. He gets back to me very quickly. He's very informative. There's not ever a problem with surprises. Sometimes that has happened in the past, but with Dave, there's no... It ceases to amaze me with Dave of how much information he can get out to the public and to you folks as quickly as he does. I think you know he's a social media junkie. He's actually moved the city probably into about, 2008, 2009, so that's a good thing for us. But we rely on him a great deal for his savvy and his communication skills. Like I said, the other thing that probably people don't know a lot about Dave is that he's actually a pretty funny guy. He's very conservative in his spending, but he's also a pretty liberal when it comes to law enforcement, and he is willing to listen to new and different ideas. I think we can all attribute the success of this last rally to him. I know he got a ton of accolades back in June and July, or July and August, so we don't have to go through that again. But I think we're fortunate to have had him for the last 10 years. I'm really excited about the fact that he'll be around for a while. I'm hoping for 5, but if we had him for another 10 or 15 or 20, we did something right in the city of Hollister. So I'd like to thank Dave for his last 10 years of service, and I'm going to give him his pin. But don't let him speak, okay?
How much is it going to cost me for that? Yeah, to echo what Captain Reynoso said, 10 years has just flown by. This is the longest agency I've worked at, and I'm very proud of this area. I married a girl from this area, so I think you've got me for forever now. Thank you very much. And just one other thing, I experienced a little mishap this weekend. Some of you may have seen that in the paper or on the news. And just an amazing support from the community that I got was, it really was, pretty emotional for me to experience that. So, again, thank you very much.
Well, before you walk off, I need to take a picture of you for Facebook because I know you want that posted. Smile. There it is. There's 4,000 people that depend on him on Facebook, so they need to see he's getting recognized.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I've got 4 hardworking employees of the Community Services Department that I'm going to recognize this evening for their years of service with the city. First of all, I'd like to recognize Rodrigo Aguilera, who is a member of our Parks and Streets Division. Rodrigo is here this evening to receive his pin. He's a little hobbled. He had an unfortunate injury a few weeks ago, but is still a very valued member of our Parks and Streets Division staff, and one of the young, nice, really hardworking young employees that we have working for the city of Hollister that represents our city very well. So I'd like to have Rodrigo come on up. Rodrigo? He said he would be glad to come up, so I'm not forcing him to walk up there. Between the two of us, I don't know who's going to get out of here slower. Very good. Rodrigo Aguilera, 5 years of service.
Yay, bravo!
And one little other piece of information I'd just like to share is that his lovely wife, Karina, is here this evening as well, and they are expecting their next child in November 13th, I believe. So we're real excited for them to have an addition to our community services extended family. So. And he will be back with us before we know it. So. The next employee that I'd like to recognize is Felix Chavira. I don't know if Felix made it this evening. Felix is receiving his pin for 5 years. Felix is also a member of our Parks and Streets Division, and Felix, his primary function is out at the Brigantino property, the 50-acre park that we received with the new wastewater treatment plant, and does a good job out there for us. That's a lot of land for one person, basically, to be maintaining. But when that park is mowed and everything is looking good, Felix gets a lot of the credit for that. And he's a good young man. He's a hard worker. And another little piece of information, he is also the grandson of former mayor and council member Ken Duran. So there's a tie back to the city. And we're real glad to have Felix working with us, and he's done a good job for the 5 years he's been with us. So unfortunately, I'll make sure he gets his pin tomorrow at the office. And the next person that we have to recognize this evening is a member of our sanitation division, and I believe I saw him sitting over here somewhere. Yeah, Frank Hernandez is one of our street sweeper operators, and Frank has been with the city for 15 years. Frank, come on up. He's one of those guys that gets up at 3:45 in the morning to be at work by 4 o'clock to get on the sweeper and get them warmed up and get out there and sweep our streets. So I'm really pleased that he was able to make it this evening. I would have been in bed myself, but that's him. He's a very dedicated worker and keeps our city looking good. And the fourth and final employee, and I don't think Benji's here, but he's also a member of the sanitation division. And Benji Cazares is being recognized for 15 years also with the City of Hollister. Benji is a member of the Sanitation Division, and his primary focus is working on keeping our sanitary sewer lines flowing properly and our storm drains flowing so that when we have the rains this winter that we don't have flooding in the downtown like we used to years ago. But Benji is another young man, just like Mr. Westrick said, that grew up here in Hollister and has stayed and is raising his family here in Hollister. And we're very, very glad to have him as a member of our community services team. And I don't think he made it tonight, but I'll, unless I'm missing Benji somewhere. Nope. I'll make sure that Benji gets his pin for tomorrow at the office. So again, Benji Cazares for 15 years of service to the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Velazquez and Vice Mayor Scatini and members of the council. I'd like to ask Deanna Hillstock to please come forward. Watch if you can go over here. Good. There you go. Never behind me. I was alongside here. Good. Okay. Deanna was formally hired by the city on October the 8th, 1998, which obviously represents 15 years of dedicated service. I've known Deanna for 9 of those 15 years, and I will attest to the fact that for a small department, we have a myriad of responsibilities, and Deanna has taken on a tremendous level of those responsibilities since the time that I've been here, and continues, obviously, to evolve with the department. That is evident in the fact that not only does she provide the support to the human resources and the risk management components of the department, but also to the finance department. And she's an integral part of the operations that go on in the payment center. She is a superstar as a result of her bilingual skills, her dealings with the public, the fact that she's put up with me for 9 years means that she can handle some pretty difficult individuals. And alongside of that, the other factor is she basically is very, very adept in being flexible and also willing to take on different responsibilities and duties at a moment's notice. She's also involved, along with the department, in a number of changes that have gone on in the department, at least since I've been here for the last 9 years. And I'm really proud to say that she's always been there, has been an integral part of the department and its operations, and I anticipate that she will continue to be there as the department evolves in the future. So with that, on behalf of the city, I definitely want to say thank you very, very much and commend her for the 15 years of dedicated service. And it's with great pleasure I'm going to ask, because obviously I've got the flu. Go ahead if you want to. I don't want to pass your pen over here. I don't want to get you sick. Yes. There you go. Thanks.
Thank you.
I wouldn't have missed this event for my life. There you go. And it's with great pleasure that I present to you this pin for 15 years of service. And I look forward to many more years of service to come in the future. So thank you very, very much. Okay, there you go.
Bravo.
Do we have any others? That's it? All right, let's move on to proclamation. Bi-National Health Week is October 12th through the 21st. Do we have somebody here from the organization?
Angelica is here.
Whereas the Secretariat of Health and the Secretariat of Foreign Relations of Mexico, the Secretariats of Foreign Relations of El Salvador and Guatemala, the California Department of Health Services, the University of California Health Initiative Americas, and the United States-Mexico Border Health Commission have recognized the necessity of improving access to health care and public health information to the Latino community at the U.S.-Mexico border and throughout the state of California. And now, therefore, I, Ignacio Velasquez, Mayor of the City of Hollister, do hereby proclaim October 12th through the 21st, 2013, to be Bi-National Health Week in the City of Hollister and acknowledge the efforts to improve public health for the Latino community. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Angelica Rojas, and I am a nutrition and health educator at the San Benito Health Foundation. And I just want to thank you for having us here tonight. And also, in honor of the Bi-National Health Week, we're having our 5th annual Bi-National Health Fair in San Juan Bautista on October 18th from 4 to 7 in the 301 the Alameda Suite K in San Juan, which is also known as the Windmill Shopping Center. We're going to have free dental screenings and a nutrition and health education for the entire community. And we're going to have healthy food as well. And everybody is invited. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move forward into item A, consent resolution. Is there a motion for?
I want to pull.
Well, before I move forward, did the senior baseball team arrive
You know, I
today?
haven't heard anything. We'll
No.
make sure that they get their certificates. I talked to one of the coaches last week, or whenever it was, and he said that some of the kids have already gone off to college, so we'll just get the certificates to the coaches and they can get them to the players. But they did a great job this year for the senior Babe Ruth baseball team.
And we're very proud of them. I know you're out there somewhere, so thank you, guys. We're proud of you. Okay, now we'll move to item A.
I want to pull number 10.
Item 10. Are there any other items from council?
Motion to approve as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Let's move on to item A10.
Rudy, you're going to answer this
Yes, sir.
question? Okay. It came to my attention just recently that Pavec's been taking water out from the airport. Am I correct on that?
Through a application process, they were issued a
Yeah.
construction meter, and they've been receiving water for
Okay,
construction purpose. Yeah.
But the city had not proved that till tonight. Am I correct on that?
Unfortunately, the permit was issued short of the council approval, which is a provision within the city's code that any water to a rural premise be approved by the city council prior to the application being approved. In a sense, the construction water itself on Highway 152 outside of the county is considered a rural premise, so it does fall within that criteria of the ordinance, and then which is why we're bringing it to you for your approval.
Okay. Let me state, when I heard about this, I was quite upset, quite honestly with you. They've been taking 500 gallons each load. Am I correct on that?
That's probably correct, yeah.
And how much have they been paying for that 500?
At this point, we haven't had a meter read on the exact volume itself. It probably equates to roughly 30 units at this point, which is, well, each unit is 100 cubic feet, so we're looking at 3,000, well, more than that, actually. 100 cubic feet times 30 be 3,000 cubic feet times 7.5, 21,000 gallons, basically.
Right, and they've been paying $250 for that load. Am I
That's
correct
the
on that?
charge.
And that's coming out of the Hollister drinking water, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And it's going to Santa Clara County.
That's correct.
And right now, we're raising the water rates in this county, and we're allowing a construction company going out of the county, taking taking water.
Mhm.
That's kind of hard to explain. Okay? I just want to make that clear, that I'm not a happy camper about that.
Yeah, it's not a consistent application that we used. Some degree, it's it's a support for Caltrans in a project where they have difficulty attaining water for their construction purpose. Again, at the time the permit was issued, it was done so based on haste rather than having properly read the provision of the ordinance itself.
Well-
But it's a routine process that we have in engineering for the issuance of construction meters.
To me, that should have came before the city council for approval.
It probably would have been denied had we
Yes,
received the application in full light. It would have been denied.
You're right.
But at this point, it has gone forward. It still can be revoked. It's not a matter of difficulty in doing such, but we decided to give the council the opportunity to discuss the issue.
Well, yeah, that's what the horse is out of the barn. I'd like to look into that, Bill.
Oh, yeah, no, like Rudy says, there's probably not a whole lot to look into. I think that in the spirit of cooperation, I'm not sure that we wouldn't have brought something to you to get your approval prior to the issuance of the water meter. Since that has already occurred, we felt that it was probably, we needed to come back and let you, the council, know that this is what's happening. They're not paying a discounted rate. They're not paying they're not paying a rate that's higher than most construction water meters or what other people are paying. But it is true. It is going to a Caltrans project that is located in Santa Clara County. So.
Right. Outside the county and using our water, when we just raising water rates for the people
Again, I mean,
outside.
I think one thing I want to be clear is they're not getting a deal on the water. I mean, it's the same. If the water was staying in town, they would be charged the same rate. So I just, not that it matters in the grand scheme of things, but
They should have been getting it from Santa Clara County, what I'm trying to say, right?
fair enough.
Okay. That's all I got to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Gomez? Do you have any questions?
Nope.
Councilmember Valdivia? What is the water rate? Why are they not buying it from Santa Clara? Why are they coming to
They're-
us? Is it the better deal or something, or?
Well, it's not a better deal as much as it's the proximity to the project. It's simply the Hollister water supply is closer to their project than would be any potable supply within Santa Clara County. So it's a matter of cost to the project itself, to Caltrans, to take it to the closest location. Trucking is very expensive for the water. That's where they incur most of their expense. So any additional mile is something that they consider in their calculations. So, our location was their choice of preference, and they filed their application as such.
And you're saying we are metering it? Do we have,
Oh,
you
yes,
haven't
sir.
checked, are we sure there's a proper meter on it? There's no way to bypass this, or we're?
This is our meter that we issue. They place a deposit, I believe, $1,000 deposit on the meter itself. The meters are calibrated by our own utility department. They're issued to the contractors, and we do the meter reads once they're returned. In this particular case, they've indicated a 2 to 4 month construction schedule. We'll probably be receiving that meter back within a couple months. We'll do the final read. We then subtract the value of the water from their deposit and go from there.
Okay. That is at current rate?
It is a current rate, correct, per 100 cubic feet, 2.75, I believe, $2.75 per 100 cubic feet. It's not a tremendous amount of money.
It's a lot of water going out of town. Okay. Is there any other
I just like
questions?
I would like to, when this thing is completed, I would like to have you come back before the city council and tell us how much water that they actually taken out of the
We
county.
can do that. Sure.
And the pay that they paid for it.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Against?
No.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Move on to item B.
Motion to approve B1.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Motion carries. We're going to item C, public input. This is time for anyone in the audience to speak on any item not on the agenda within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. When the city clerk calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name and city for the record, and speak to the city council. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Please note that state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action on any item not on the agenda. Do we have any speakers?
Marty Richmond?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. Marty Richmond from Hollister. As you all know, I am never shy about coming here and complaining when there's something I don't like, so I should come here and give credit when there's something I do like. And so I want to give a lot of credit to our Congressman Sam Farr and the folks who represent us at the state, including Assembly Member Alejo, for the recent actions concerning a military veterans cemetery at Fort Ord that was funded by the VA. They're also, in case you don't know it, and a lot of people don't, they're also putting in a active duty clinic and a VA clinic. I believe it's going to be located in Marina. So it's in the local area, really, for us. I'm a supporter of this as a veteran, as a retired Army officer. I'm a supporter. I've put some money to it. I don't walk around carrying the sign all day long to do it, so a lot of people don't know that. But I've been working behind the scenes, and I really appreciate it. Unfortunately, the rules are you cannot have a national cemetery within so many miles of another national cemetery, so we were unable to get the national cemetery we really wanted because Fort Ord was such a significant military base for so many years. All from World War II through Vietnam. So many people went through there who wound up going to East Asia, and for many years until it was essentially closed as an active duty installation. And the people, many members who served from the Central Coast have been, upset because the nearest cemetery was in Santa Nella. And there's, I respect everyone who's there and their families, but it's a long way from here, let's face facts, over the Pacheco Pass. So it took a lot of work to get this authorized. Money is tight, we all know that. We all read the paper every day, and they were able to come up with the money. So I want to thank again all our representatives and our folks in Washington and all the people at the state, because it took both to essentially get on with this. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Are there any other speakers? No? We'll move forward with item D1. Today we're honored to have our State Assemblyman Luis Alejo here to give us an update on some of the legislative activity that's going on in Sacramento.
Right. Good evening, Mayor Velasquez and esteemed council members. Good to be back before you again. As you know, this is my third year serving in the State Assembly, and I've tried to come here at least once a year to give you a report. As I say, also the people of San Benito County, as I do in all 4 counties that I represent. I go to the 9 city council meetings, all 4 board of supervisors, to give a report to the public. As I say, you guys are my boss in Sacramento, so it's always incumbent for me to come before you. And not to take too much of your time, but at least to give a report, legislative report, on some of the highlights of this year. But I do want to also take a moment to commend your city employees that are recognized tonight, whether it was 5 years or 15 years. I think it's always commendable to thank our hardworking employees that keep the city and the county moving forward and always excelling at serving the public in a very good way. And certainly I wanted to extend, well, I should say, thanking God that our Chief Westrick, him and his family are all right, but prayers as they're trying to rebuild their castle. As I know, that's always a special place for everyone, but I'm glad things didn't end up worse for you and your family. But just recently, I wanted to just point out, it was a good honor. Recently held a senior scam stopper event with Council Member Valdivia at the Senior Center. I was able to bring multiple state agencies to come and give information to the senior community here in San Benito County to avoid our local seniors being victims of scams and fraud that happens every day across California. So I just want to thank Councilmember Valdivia. Also commend everyone who put a good fair together. I was there last Friday night, and always a wonderful event, and the whole community comes out for that. So I wanted to really commend everyone for always putting a great event together, and the community seems to really love it. And lastly, I just want to say that San Benito County is such a special place for me. As you know, the last time I came before you about a year ago, I wasn't married yet, but I did get married last December at San Juan Bautista and had my reception at the Vault, a beautiful reception and ceremony here. So San Benito County will always be a special place, and in my heart and in my wife's heart, as she's also the vice mayor for the city of Watsonville. So always wanted to point that out to people that we chose San Benito County for our ceremony. But I do have tonight my field representative who works here, covers San Benito and South Santa Clara County for me. She's an attorney, graduated from law school in Washington, D.C. Brandy Garcia, if you could wave your hand, native daughter of Gilroy, came back home to serve her community, and she's going to be passing out some brochures to the community to let people know what services we provide, because sometimes people get headaches dealing with either the DMV or the Unemployment Insurance Office, and sometimes they don't know who to turn to. If it's a state agency, my office could be helpful. And Brandy is in my office here in Hollister at the Briggs Building every Tuesday from 10 to 5 o'clock. So they're more than welcome to stop by or set up an appointment so we can help them with whatever problems that they may have. As you know, my state assembly district covers, I represent 500,000 people from Santa Clara, Santa Cruz, and Monterey and San Benito counties. My district changed last November, so it includes the new parts of the district, which is the city of Morgan Hill and San Martin and South Santa Clara County, and the entire Big Sur coastline from Carmel Highlands all the way to San Luis Obispo County line, which only makes my district much bigger geographically. So it's a kind of hard job because you got to end up being everywhere. And we just finished our session in Sacramento on September 13th. So now it's always refreshing to be just home for a while for the next 3 months and be able to go around and make the rounds and give a report of what we accomplished this year. This year has been probably my most successful legislative year. As you know, I got 11 bills to the governor. 6 have been signed into law already. Many times my colleagues are lucky to get 3 or 4 bills to the governor and maybe get 1 or 2 signed. But so far we're batting 100%, got 6 signed and 5 more to go. He has until October 13th to decide what bills he will sign and veto. So I'm hoping that, and confident that we'll get our other 5 bills signed as well. But we covered a wide range of issues, whether it was public safety, education, drinking water, health care. We got a lot of good things done for the people of California and certainly for San Benito County. But I do want to just start out by just talking about some of the bills that we focused on. Some were legislative victories, others were done through administrative action. One of those being my Assembly Bill 900. That was a bill that came out of issues raised by Hazel Hawkins Hospital and the CEO, Ken Underwood. They were facing a really tough situation, as all other 58 skilled nursing hospitals were. At Hazel Hawkins, a part of their services is maybe South and North. Those are the skilled nursing hospitals that take care of our most vulnerable seniors. Many of those are our parents and grandparents here in Hollister and throughout San Benito County. And they were at risk of closing down next year or the year after very closely because they had cut 10%, they had faced 10% Medi-Cal cuts. But that translate to about 25 to 40% of the budget for Hazel Hawkins to provide that particular service. If that were to close down, that would have costed more jobs here in San Benito County. It would have forced families to send their loved ones to San Jose or San Francisco where they could get that type of service. That's when our seniors face they have very specialized medical needs. Their children work, so they have to be at work. But having a place like Hazel Hawkins allows them to be able to come after work during the weekends to interact, have regular interaction with their loved ones. And we had a press conference at the beginning of this year. Some of the seniors here from San Benito County went and testified how important this was. It really became a rallying cry all over the state of California. It was one of the big health bills in the state. In the end, my bill didn't go through legislatively, but the governor, through administrative action, through the Department of Health and Human Services, reinstated that 10% cut only for these particular types of hospitals. So we had started with Hazel Hawkins, expanded it to all, trying to restore all Medi-Cal cuts. In the end, the governor is only willing to restore for these particular types of hospitals because of the dire need that they were facing closure next year if that didn't happen. And so it basically gives, I think, the hospital anywhere from $4 to $5 million a year. So it's a big victory for Hollister and San Benito County to have those services continue here locally. And I really wanted to commend Hazel Hawkins and all the workers there for really working with me to get that huge victory done this year. On the education front, we had 2 big victories, I think, for San Benito County. One thing that we passed through the budget is a new grant program that we call the Middle Class Scholarship. As we all know, anyone who has kids going to college or in college already, college tuition is at an all-time high. It sometimes becomes so unaffordable, or college kids leave college with huge debts. So we passed a middle-class scholarship so that we could bring down tuition or provide assistance with tuition at the California State University system or the University of California. So if you make $100,000 or less per year, your children will qualify for a middle-class scholarship that would bring down their tuition rates by 40%. So trying to make college affordable once more, but certainly would be a big assistance to families who are trying to have their children realize their college dreams and aspirations. Along with that, we made a big reform to school financing. All school districts in California under this new school financing formula keep all the funding that they had last year. But with the small surplus that we had in the state, the governor really made a commitment, as did the legislature, to remain fiscally disciplined, not spend more what we have, but try to restore some money in 3 particular areas: K through 12 education, higher ed, and healthcare. And in that K through 12 education area, we provided some additional funding for school districts to have a higher number of economically disadvantaged students or English language learners, as they have additional obstacles in their education. So places like in Watsonville and Salinas and Hollister will be able to get additional funding under that new formula. I know in Pajaro Valley alone, they're getting $6 million additional dollars, and that one school district's under this new formula. So I haven't seen what the number looks like locally for Hollister, but I'm sure it's going to be a plus. They're not going to lose anything. They could only gain from the new funding formula. And I think that's a good thing in terms of our commitment to restoring money that and restoring what we cut over the last 2, 3, 4 years in Sacramento. I did want to talk about what Marty talked about, at least as a veterans issue, the Veterans Cemetery. That was something I worked very closely with the author Bill Monning and Assemblymember Mark Stone. As you know, Fort Ord was a former military base. My father was a Vietnam-era veteran, was stationed at Fort Ord. And when that base closed, it was committed to be a resource for the entire Monterey Bay region, San Benito County, Monterey County, Santa Cruz County, to bring in jobs. But also there was a part of that long-term plan was that a place would be there for a future veteran cemetery. So it's been over 20 years in the making. But a lot of people came together, a lot of dedicated veterans had a dream to make this a reality, to have a place, a beautiful place in the beautiful Monterey Bay, close to home, where we could bury the people who served and gave their lives to our country. And so this is the state matched, gave some funding this year, a little bit less than $2 million. There was a recent federal grant that Congressman Sam Farr worked hard on getting. And then the local veterans community raised some small amount of money, but it was the gap that was missing. And I think they're raising a little bit more money now to bring it all together. But certainly it's going to be a very beautiful place there, where a lot of local families could have a closer place and a beautiful place to bury our loved ones when that time comes. Another big issue that I've been working on, I'm the chairman for the Environmental Safety and Toxic Materials Committee for the State Assembly. And one of our big priority areas this year was making sure that every Californian has access to safe drinking water. Over 2 million Californians, when water gets delivered to their home, they pay, as we were talking earlier about paying the bill, prices have gone up, but many Californians, when they get water delivered, it's contaminated with nitrates, it's contaminated with benzene, perchlorates, natural forming arsenic, a wide range of toxic chemicals in the water, so they can't even use it for cooking, they can't use it for drinking, because it poses a serious danger to them and their family. So we made a commitment this year to guarantee that every Californian's going to have access to safe drinking water. I authored 3 bills. I'm hoping the governor's going to sign 3 of those these next few days. But one of them creates a $50 million fund so that economically disadvantaged communities could apply for a grant to help them clean up their drinking water, whether it's filtration or a new well, other mitigations, solutions, so that they could have access to safe drinking water. And the reason that's important is that if you have an economically disadvantaged community and they have nitrates, if they were to try to fund that on their own, their water bills will skyrocket because they have to take out debt, and then that cost gets passed on to the ratepayers, and it becomes very expensive and unaffordable for many families. So we're saying these economically disadvantaged communities, they could apply for these grants, and it keeps those costs down and gives them a real solution, and that's going to benefit over 2 million people in the state of California. So I'm really looking forward to having those bills signed into law. And then lastly, I just want to talk about one of the big bills. We had, I had 2 major bills this year, one of those being Assembly Bill 60, which provides an opportunity to grant driver's license to undocumented immigrants in California. This bill has been debated in Sacramento for over 20 years. The previous author was Senator Gil Cedillo, who's now a Los Angeles City Council member. He fought for almost 15 years to get it done in Sacramento, could never get it done. And when his time termed out last year, at the end of last year, he asked me to carry on that bill. And this year, I was determined to get it done. And I worked closely with my Republican colleagues. Senator Canelo was the first ever, who represents Hollister, San Benito County. He was the very first co-author of AB 60, but I also got support from Republican Assembly members Cacho Chajian from San Luis Obispo County, Jeff Gorell from Ventura, Oxnard area, and the new Senator Andy Vidak from Bakersfield area. So it was the first time ever we had bipartisan support on this type of a bill. I also worked very closely with the California Police Chiefs Association. We got their first ever endorsement on this bill. And I seriously negotiated for the last month of the session from early August to mid-September, negotiating with the governor to put this bill in signable shape. And we had a press conference last Wednesday in Los Angeles, the second conference in Fresno. But this is now going to allow over 2 million undocumented people to be able to apply. And I always like to be very clear, it's not giving anyone a driver's license, it's giving only an opportunity for them to fulfill the requirements. They have to provide all the required documents, they have to take the written test just like everyone else, the driving test to prove that they can operate a motor vehicle, and they'll also get auto insurance, just like everyone else. So this has to be earned, it's not given, but in the end of the day, I think it's going to make our highways and our roads safer. The DMV came up with a study, I think it was in February or March, that showed that unlicensed drivers are 3 times more likely to be involved in a fatal accident. And it's widely recognized among law enforcement that these folks are on the road because they do have to go to work. We have a lot of agricultural workers here in San Benito County. They do have to take the kids to school, go buy groceries, go to church. So what's the better policy? Allowing them to continue to drive without having proof that they know our traffic laws and know how to operate a motor vehicle, or to give them that opportunity to be tested, licensed, and insured. And so this was a historic bill that's I think going to have a big impact, not only for the families, but also for everyone on the road. And in addition, I think it's going to have a huge boost to our economy because now you have over 2 million people that could buy cars, that could buy auto insurance, and I think it's only be a benefit in the billions of dollars to California's economy. So this has been a long struggle, but it's good to finally be able to work on a key, important issue. And as you know, it made CNN, the Washington Post, the New York Times, the LA Times, and it was certainly we're very gratified to get a big policy issue done in Sacramento. And so along with that, I work very closely with my Republican colleagues, and I like pointing that out because sometimes in Sacramento there seems to be a lot of polarization, and I made a big effort to reach out to a lot of my Republican colleagues on a wide range of issues, and in many of my bills I was able to get bipartisan support. But on the issue of immigration, which is currently pending in Washington, D.C., from the beginning of the year I worked with a wide range. I authored a resolution, which was the key push in Sacramento to pass comprehensive immigration reform. I got 9 Republican colleagues, 3 Republican senators. We worked with each other, and the Republican legislators had the first ever Republican press conference in support of immigration reform. These were things that had never been done in the history of California, and so I commend Senator Canella and the other legislators I mentioned earlier for really taking a lead and working closely together to really push for something that has a big impact on California's economy. Agriculture was on board, law enforcement was on board, a wide range of stakeholders were all on board, and it's good to point out that when we're doing something right in a bipartisan manner, I think that's what the people in our districts want to hear, that we're trying to find common ground, we're trying to find solutions that both parties can agree on. So with that said, I just want to thank you for giving me a few minutes to talk about some of the things we got done this year. And I hope to continue to try to complement the work you're doing here at the local level and be supportive and hopefully continue to, there's a lot more work to be done my next 3 years in Sacramento, but I look forward to working together and supporting the work that you're doing here as well. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, if I can make a comment?
Absolutely.
I just wanted to thank, excuse me, Assemblyman Alejo about his work, especially around, he was talking about the senior scam that we had at the community center. It was great. We had over, I think, more than about 60 people that attended. It was, and this was on scams with the elderly. He had folks come from the state to talk to the seniors about, how to take care of themselves and beware and not take advantage of them. The people were still talking about it. Thank you for that. And also, especially with the nursing homes, I think that was awesome that that the hospital didn't have to close the hospital because you pushed that bill that went through. And I just want to personally tell you that, that we really appreciate that. A lot of the folks do, especially the families. Because if folks went to San Francisco or San Jose, there's no way that folks could visit their loved ones. If they're here, they're able to visit, they're even able to go and volunteer and make it easier for the people that work in the facility. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Go ahead, Councilmember Scatini.
Yeah, Assemblyman, I just want to thank you for spending a lot of time in San Benito County and addressing our issues. I know you work very hard, and I know you just came to the Board of Supervisors a couple weeks ago, I believe, and I sure appreciate that and bring the citizens of this community update on what's happening in Sacramento. That's a big plus. I personally want to thank you.
Thank you very much. And we also, that day, we recognized, I only choose one small business of the year, and this year was a business out of Hollister, Royal Circuit Solutions, which is one of the last few remaining circuit board manufacturers. If you've ever done a tour of that place, it's really, you look at who the workforce is and the high-tech kind of circuit board manufacturing they're doing here, and to hear the success story, I think they quadrupled their workforce. They're 10 times more profitable than they were at the point where they were going to shut down just a few years ago. And the CEO there, Milan Shah, will tell you it's not only him, but his really dedicated workforce. They kind of work together to turn that company around, and they're really one of Hollister's success stories, and they commend the city of Hollister and your staff for really working through all the permitting process they need to go through. That company is one of your biggest cheerleaders in terms of attracting other small businesses and manufacturers to come to this community.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Luis. Appreciate all the time that you take coming out here, and I like the tie. That's pretty much all I have to say. I know that you don't. I know that you don't necessarily have to work with others on the other side of the aisle, and I being one of the others, I do appreciate that. I've noticed that there has been, at least locally, some collaboration between yourself and Senator Cannella. And I know us as representatives of the city of Hollister and residents in general like to see that. I think you put it kind of nicely when you said there's polarization up in Sacramento. I think people look at it as mudslinging, and people have a different perspective on it. So being able to see you folks work together, at least here locally, I can't speak for everybody, but at least our two representatives, it's nice to see. As a child of a field working parents and immigrant farm workers, I know I appreciate all the work that you do when it comes to the rights of those that come in here, just to do some of the labor that others don't really care to do. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. And from the very beginning, when I was first elected 3 years ago, as did Senator Cannella when he came in, I think the first couple of weeks, our staffs and his staff got together. We had breakfast, and since then we've agreed on a lot of local issues. There's a few issues that we disagree on, but there's a lot of good issues that are good for the district that we work on very closely together. And so I take a lot of pride in that. And I think Sacramento was much more polarized with the shorter term limits. Under the new limits, we have 40 new assembly members that came in. They're going to be around for 12 years. So you've really seen a change in Sacramento. You see legislators on both sides of the aisle seeing it's worthwhile making friendships and long-term relationships, because they're going to work on a wide range of issues for the next 12 years, where that wasn't the case with the former term limits that I'm under, which is you're only there 6 years, people there short time. It became very divisive, and I think the new term limits helped build a lot more bridges between both parties and really trying to find those solutions. As you said, we have 2/3 majority Democrats in both houses in Sacramento. But I think those people who reach out and try to show, despite that, we're still trying to find common solutions. I think those people really stand out in terms of having a different level of leadership, and I think that's what the people of my district expect from me. So it's always been an honor working together with our local state senator, Cannella.
Nice. Well, I want to thank you personally. I know you do a lot of work, and you do a lot of traveling back and forth, and I know it's a tough job to have. But I want to thank you personally, because every time I'm in Sacramento, I run into you, and I appreciate you always taking time for me. If we start with lunch, pretty soon we're having dinner together and going on to a few other meetings. A 1 hour meeting for us turns into an 8 hour meeting usually, and I appreciate you taking the time to spend with me and tell me what's going on and all you do for the community.
Right. As for everybody here in the room and here in San Benito County, if they're ever up in Sacramento, you could always call my office. We could set up a VIP tour. show them our offices. We always try to make everybody feel welcome. As I said, many of us come from small rural communities. It's really a dream to be working in Sacramento so that when we have local students, sometimes student groups go up there or folks are visiting with their relatives, we always try to make them feel at home and that they have their office there on the second floor of the Capitol.
Well, I appreciate all of that, and I'm going to ask you one big favor, though. We need some help on that water grant money.
All right. That's next. We got more.
I'll come
things to
visit
work
you
on here.
again
That's
soon
right.
in Sacramento.
All right.
Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a
Taking
good
the
night.
time
Thank
with
you.
us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, let's move to item E. There is no business. We'll move to item F1. We're going to have anyone speak on that, or?
Sorry. Yes, I will. Thank you, Mayor. The resolution that you have before you this evening is very similar to the resolution that you had before you at the end of 2011. The staff is requesting that the City Council vacate a portion of right-of-way, formerly McCrae Street, or actually, technically it's still McCrae Street, but a portion of it just north of the Walgreens store. As you know, we did a similar action, again, like I said, in 2011. The vacation of that right-of-way has now become a new commercial development, which is Walgreens, which is supposed to open just prior to Thanksgiving in November. So folks can be looking forward to that. This piece is a piece that will ultimately end up making a nice transition to McCrae. It will also offer us another opportunity to do another commercial building. So this action, again, is just to vacate that section of public right-of-way, and then I'll ask you in a moment for another action. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. This site is just under a half an acre.
Okay. Councilmember Gomez?
No questions.
Councilmember Scatini?
Yeah, just the only question I have, this is city property, right?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, and so the city is kind of abandoning or selling off excessive property that they no longer need?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
And you know that for a fact in the future?
Yes,
we won't need it?
we've determined that there is no longer public need for this piece of property. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Valdivia? No questions. Okay. No questions from me. Is there a motion?
I move that we pass this resolution number 2013-155.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. We'll move on to F2.
Okay, F2 is a little bit different. What staff is asking for is that the City Council adopt a resolution ordering the sale of the real property located at the northeast corner of Pinnacles National Park Highway and Hillcrest Road. If you drive by that intersection, you'll see that Mr. Serrato has an orchard on that same corner, but there is a triangle sliver, I like to call it, just right off of the road. It has a different style of weeds. He doesn't really mow those for us, but that's all right. And it really, again, it's a kind of an excess piece that was left over from the construction of the Highway 25 bypass, which is now Pinnacles National Park Highway right there. So what we're asking for is the ordering of the sale and authorizing the release of an RFP so that potential developers can come in again and purchase that piece of property.
Okay. Councilmember Gomez?
Oh, yeah, and the Planning Commission on September, thank you. And the Planning Commission on its last meeting of September 26th also determined that it didn't have a public use and it was consistent, or residential development is consistent with the general plan. Okay.
Thank you. Councilmember Gomez?
No questions.
Councilmember Scatini?
How big is this sliver?
Oh, this sliver is just over half an acre. I think it's .52 something or another. I forget. Hang on just a second. Oh, .58. And the appraisal, the city went and did an appraisal. This is probably important. Steve Luce prepared an appraisal for this site, and it was determined that the value of the property was at $4 per square foot. So essentially, when the RFPs or when proposals come back to the city of Hollister in November, the minimum bid, the city is not allowed to sell property for less than the fair market value. So the fair market value for this particular piece is at $4 a square foot. So it'll roughly be just over $100,000 through the general fund.
Okay. Councilmember Valdivia?
No question.
I don't have any questions. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution, what is it, where is it? Look.
Second.
2013-156.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, that's first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Move on to item F3.
Getting back to the vacation part, this particular property is, again, the piece that you just took action on, vacating the portion of McCray Street. Again, it's 0.452 of an acre. Staff is requesting that the city council adopt a resolution ordering the sale of the property and authorizing staff to release a request for proposals. This property was also appraised by Steve Luce, a local appraiser here in town. The value, or the fair market value, of this particular piece came out at $5 a square foot. So again, coming back to when the proposals come back to the city in November, and you see them eventually, the city is not permitted to sell the property to anybody for less than that fair market value at $5, which equates to about $98,445, and that revenue is also general fund revenue.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Gomez?
No questions.
Councilmember Scatini?
No question.
Councilmember Valdivia?
No question.
I have no questions. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve 2013-157.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Move forward to item F4.
Mr. Mayor and Council, it has come to my attention that I've messed up, and I would like to pull this particular item and re-agendize it for probably sometime in November. And the reason is really what we want to do is we want to adopt fees, development impact fees for age-restricted units. We'll go through the actual adoption process, do the public hearing process, and actually have it be a part of our impact fee schedule, not necessarily just adopt a resolution establishing a policy to do it.
Okay.
After discussion with legal counsel, I think this is probably the best bet for us.
Okay.
I just
Mr.
have
Mayor,
a question.
I'm sorry, I do have a speaker's card for this item if he wants to make a comment now. Marty Richmond?
I'd like to pass until the
Okay.
actual item.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, and I think Marty did write me an email, and I'm going to add something. We had it as age-restricted units and whatnot, but I think Marty brings up a good point in one of his conversations with me that will probably also include granny units or other small units that are age-restricted in the city of Hollister. So that will also be a part of it. Okay.
Okay.
That's good. Did it have to be in November? Can we do it sooner?
Well, there's public hearing requirements. We got noticing requirements in order to do it, and I think on an impact fee, is it 30? It's 30 days for a public notice on impact fees, so it couldn't be done before then.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Do we need a motion
I
to
apologize.
table it or
No,
anything
I
else?
don't.
Or we just, all right,
Sorry about that.
that's okay. Let's move on to item G1, reports from city council committees. Councilmember Valdivia?
I'll pass it this time.
Okay. Councilmember Scatini?
Yes. I'd just like to make an announcement. We are, in my committees, okay. No, there's no committees.
Okay. All right, I'll move forward with the update on the fire committee. Everything's been moving along. We had a few hurdles of recruiting new members and getting them processed through the process that they have to go through. That is open to everyone in the city, the county, or people you know that would like to train to become firefighters. You're welcome to come in and apply. A lot of good things are happening there. We just we saw a post recently on Facebook about an incident in San Juan Bautista where somebody had called 911, and they were amazed that the fire department, as they put it, was there within less than a minute, which was an amazing feat in itself. But that's what their whole purpose was, of working together as a partnership. So we're seeing good things coming, and we're still working on the location of our third fire station here in Hollister on the north side of the city. So things are moving along pretty well. That would be my update. Is there any?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to work the fair booth this past weekend for the city of Hollister, and I guess the airport air show, I guess they combined their things together. Anyway, Mike O'Connor had a huge turnout. I had the opportunity to spend some time with him out there, and he passed out 15 applications to prospective volunteers for the fire department, which was a pretty good turnout. And he just talking to him tonight before he left to go home. The fire department and the medical people out there this weekend had a real quiet fair. I think they tended to about 6-7 incidents out there, which none were serious. And that the people out there really complimented the fire department for being a professional organization, and they were really happy with the response to some of the incidents that they were involved in. So I just want to pass that on. That's it, thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Gomez, do you have any committee meetings you want to share?
No, not right now.
Okay, perfect. We'll move on to item G2, other reports from city council members. Councilmember Gomez.
Yeah, the only, well, I guess I'll mention this right now. So back a few months ago in San Benito County Transportation, a local transportation authority, we had a discussion about possibly increasing the fare rates to increase the fare box recovery for the local transportation authority buses. And so we talked about ridership to Gavilan College and how they get some pretty darn good ridership for Gav. And so it was COG's decision back, I believe, in June to talk to, back in June or July, to talk to Gav about possibly, without having to increase the fares, to possibly talk to Gav about having them contribute. Because so many of their students use the buses, yet Gavilan doesn't contribute a penny to the bus service, to Gavilan. So I just wanted to report that I sat down with Tony Ruiz earlier today and COG staff about the possibility of doing that. He will share that information with the rest of the Board of Trustees, and then hopefully we could get some movement on that. It was a good meeting. He was very receptive to it, and I think Tony really understands the impact that Gavilan has obviously on our community, and they get quite a bit of students from here going all the way to the main campus. So it would only make sense. So I'm looking forward to that. Just thought I would share that. And then also last time I believe it was during our last meeting, the meeting before, we had a few folks come in and ask about parking around schools and all of that stuff. I don't know if we followed up with those people or if we've heard of anything that we're working on to help those schools and principals kind of figure out the situation there.
The short answer is yes, we are working on specifically Lad Lane and Gavilan Hills. Those are the two schools that we're focusing our efforts on right now, and I think we will be coming back to you at your next meeting with plans for both of those.
Oh, good. Okay, great. I have the pleasure of doing that for the city of San Jose in District 10. And so the Department of Transportation over there has a few assemblies that they put together for students. It's part of the whole Safe Routes to School, but it teaches kids on walking to and from school, riding their bikes, and all that good stuff. But there's also another really good one that's put on at the end of the day for parents, because when you sit in front of a school in the morning or in the afternoon, some of the worst drivers in the world are parents, and they're dangerous. I would never walk around a school if I was a child, because parents are some of the worst drivers in the world. and I'm sure I'm probably not going to get very good emails because I just said that. But it's the truth, and that's why I feel comfortable saying it. I know we don't have all the resources in the world, but I do appreciate the attention that PD dedicates to that kind of stuff. I know it has nothing to do with parking, but it is if they're illegally parking and not doing what they're supposed to do. So, maybe we could look into the future on how to instruct some of these parents on how to drive around the schools.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you are a parent, right?
Yes, but my children are homeschooled, so I don't have to drive anywhere. So,
well, there's a
that's the
caveat,
good
parents.
part. And I drive really good around my court, by the way. But so I just think that hopefully in the future we could get some parents to take a little bit of ownership about their driving. But that's just my 2 cents. Bring on the emails. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Scatini.
Okay, I was going to say earlier, I was kind of shut down, but now I can start up again. On Saturday, October the 19th at 12 noon, there will be a short presentation by the Friends at the new street sign for Jim Laws at the airport. And after that, ceremonies, which will probably last about half an hour, maybe 45 minutes, there will be a barbecue lunch afterwards. Guests are asked to bring a side dish if they wish. And we'd like to have people come out to thank Jim for his contribution to the Hollister Airport and recognize his more than 50 years in aviation. Jim was a longtime pilot at the airport. In fact, one of the main people at the airport, Jim Laws and John Weatherly and a few others in the city. And by dedicating this sign, it would be Jim is way up there in age, and it would be a real nice thing for Jim to receive before he goes to the different country. But I personally know Jim since I was 10 years old, and now I'm 40, so it's been a long time. And many people in Hollister that been around the airport knows that he has been one of the mainstays at the airport. Very nice gentleman. Most of you probably know him. If you know him, he's quiet. And he's always with his wife. Everywhere you see him, they're always together. And like I say, she's up there to an age. And there should be a big turnout for Jim. I think that people in Hollister should come out. And I would hope the people from the city of Hollister come out there and wish him best of luck in the future. So that's about it. The street naming will be right there by the retired restaurant out there at the airport, which is no longer in use. It'll be that street there. It's going to be called Jim Laws Street. Yeah, well, it says here street, but Jim Laws Drive. Other than that, I hope to see you all there. Bring a donut or something, a dish of some type, or if you wish. The barbecue is going to be free. So, that's all I got. Thank you.
Councilmember Valdivia.
Okay, I just wanted to share a little something. Saturday, I went down to I made a sacrifice and got up early and went to the 9 o'clock basketball first for the children up there at Rancho School. I just wanted to comment the recreation department. It was very awesome. I mean, you have the kids, different age groups play. It was great watching the kids involved and really ambitious in terms of and loving the game. And the parents were there to support the children. And I just want to comment, give recreation department a lot of credit for just organizing, having their staff and volunteers there. Everything went smoothly. We went to the 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock game. It was two different groups, but it was great to see the children involved, which is great. To me, that's really great, including my grandchildren, but, they're starting to play and they do all these nice things, but, I think it's great. I just want to shout out with you so I can give our recreation department a pat in the back because they do a tremendous job with the different activities.
Okay. Thank you. I'd like to take a moment to thank Chief Westrick and the Fire Chief O'Connor for joining me at HCLA Elementary School to provide a public safety session for the kids, teach them about being safe. It's amazing to find out how many families don't have smoke detectors in their homes, or how many families have no plan on how to get out of their homes in an emergency. Obviously, our chief had a very good plan in his home recently, and he got out safely. But it's something that we want to promote in the community. If there's schools out there that would like us to show up, we'd be happy to be there. Part of this, with the elementary schools, we've been working on parking issues, but we've also realized there's a serious problem with speed demons around the schools, as Councilmember Gomez mentioned. I think it's time we really look at some speed bumps or some more stop signs throughout the city to slow some of that traffic down before a child is run over and it's too late. So if we can start looking at that, Billy. Also, I'd like to start looking at how we could start providing higher rewards for serious crimes to help the police department combat the issue that's taken over our city, and we need to put a stop to it. So again, I appreciate Chief Westrick's going out there and finding new ideas to help be proactive rather than reactive. And on a positive note, a lot of talk about seeing what we can do about a sports field, and I'd like to keep moving forward on that. If we can do a little more research and start planning for the long term. Nothing that's going to happen tomorrow, but for the long term, let's start seeing what we can provide for our kids in our community and help reduce some of that crime that's caused by a lack of activities. That's all I have to say for tonight. Okay, City Manager.
Thank you. Clay at the yard asked me to let everybody know that with the leaf drops that usually occurs in October, heading towards Halloween, that the city will provide its normal leaf collection with our leaf vacuum trailer, which will work in unison with the street sweeper in an effort to keep our storm drains clear for the rainy season. However, we are requesting that the residents not create large piles of leaves in front of their homes, but just let the leaves accumulate like they would normally do. It's easier on our equipment to pick them up. And then also, we're hoping that the residents actually look at the schedule for street sweeping and try to have their streets clear so that the leaf collector and the street sweeper can do their job effectively throughout the month of October. And if they have any questions about schedule, they can call the utilities office at 636-4377. One other thing, the City of Hollister just approved, and the State of California just approved the first business assistance loan program through the CDBG program to a local business here in town that's going to be creating six jobs of the targeted income group. So that program is finally getting off the ground, and hopefully we see a few more loans go through. So that's actually a really, really good thing. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, 6 jobs, but 6 jobs is better than no jobs. So that's positive. And hopefully those 6 jobs and this money will see, another 6 at some point. I was trying to get some information for you folks on my last thing. I don't have it yet, but I think the first annual Olive Festival is coming up October 19th. I don't know if anybody knows any more about it than I do, but it is at Pisces Ranch. So it could be a cool event for the first year out. So I don't know what time it is, and I don't know where to get tickets. I was trying to get that, so maybe by the time we're done giving our reports, if I get that information, I'll provide it to you, unless somebody else already knows.
Tickets, people can call the Hollister Downtown Association at 636-8406 or San Benito Benny on San Benito Street. And Kathina there has been the lead person on organizing this.
Thank you.
Thank
Just
you
ask
very
Jerry,
much.
she knows everything.
I'm here to help.
Okay. Thank you very much. City Attorney? No report. Okay. City Clerk?
Nothing except thank you to you and all the staff members that helped in the city booths, all of them. And Besides the Olive Festival, the weekend before is the Hollister Downtown Association first ever wine and beer stroll. Wine will be served, or beer, in the businesses. Wine will not be allowed to, alcohol can't go out on the street. And last but not least, I would like to introduce Christine Black. Welcome back to the city of Hollister. She is my full-time staff assistant.
Welcome back, Christine.
And I can't thank council enough for letting me have a full-time person. Thank you.
Thank you for coming back.
Yeah, welcome back.
Good to be here. It's good to be here.
Okay. Chief?
I don't have too much tonight. Had a busy weekend. But what I did do is last on the 4th of October, we introduced this thing called MyPD. It's a application, smartphone application. Works on iPhones and Androids. You can simply download it from the Google Marketplace if you're an Android user, or of course the Apple iTunes Store if you're an iPhone user. And what it is an actual application that for the City of Hollister Police Department, but it's kind of 24 applications in one. And one of the really cool things about it is that you can actually submit questions and get answers directly from departments that are listed on there. And right now we have the fire departments on there, code enforcement's on there, and of course there's different aspects of law enforcement as well. But just to kind of give you a snapshot, you can do police reports on there if you want to. You can submit tips if you want to, and all kinds of different ways of doing that. You can contact police officers if you need to for a case. So you can get the local news, our local tips, our local tweets, everything. So it's kind of really nice. I've been testing it for about 2 months now. Very affordable. The big ones cost several $100,000 a year. Ours was less than $1,000. So we have a really good deal. I think it's going to be really nice for another way to communicate with us and kind of bring the community a little bit closer together. So that's about it.
I appreciate all that work you do.
Thank you.
All right. Item H, I, J, and K, there's no business. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much, everyone.